Hey everybody, and welcome to Sync 2023, and it is the 15th anniversary of Sync, and I am standing here with my good friend and longtime mentor in photography, Darty Hines. So thanks for having us, Darty.
Absolutely, thanks for being here. We love it when White House comes to Sync, and you guys have been here for many, many years. I think maybe since the beginning. I feel like you guys have been with us all 15 years, so we always appreciate having you guys here and your support.
Yeah, I can remember flying down. I think it might have been the second year with the White House team and doing programs, and it was the trade winds back then, so a lot of different locations since. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you eventually were led to Sync and creating this awesome organization.
Yeah, so I'm probably one of those guys that goes to all these different conferences, and then I sit in the back of the room and go, well, if I was running this is what I would do, and so, we were having that conversation one night with my wife, and she was like, well, if that's what you want to do, put your money where your mouth is and let's do it, and so that's kind of how it really started, just as a simple conversation. Yeah. And then from there, it grew from, in 2009, and here we are in 2023, 15 additional shows, and it kind of just grew from a conversation.
Yeah. Well, I can remember being in my office, my home office, and my phone ringing, and it was my friend Darty Hines calling me, and he was saying on the other end, Matt, I've got this idea, and I'd like to bounce it off of you, and that idea was Sync. So that's pretty awesome to have that history. So you and I go way back.
Right.
Way back. Like I said, you're one of my original photography mentors. Let's take the convention side out of it and the event side out of it. What really was your passion when you were photographing, and how was that eventually led to your path now?
That's a great question. Wow, I wasn't ready for that one. I don't know. I think when I first started, I come from a long line of different, like you said, I'm your mentor, which thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. I've come from a long line of mentors myself. I mean, when I was lucky enough when I first got out of college that I had the first job I worked at was in New Philadelphia, Ohio. And that photographer was I would feel like more like old masters. And so I learned quickly like the very traditional headshot, really quality lighting, those kind of things. And then from there, I went to a photographer in Cincinnati who was more high volume. And so I got a little sprinkle of that, the high volume stuff. And then from there, I spent a few years at Larry Peters in Ohio. And so obviously the senior photographer, godfather, senior photography. So really picked up a lot of things from there. And then we went to Pennsylvania and worked at a studio there. And so all those things kind of melded together my personal style when it came to photography, and just kind of influenced me. And a lot of that kind of same mentality is what we do with Sync, as far as like, my wife and I go to different conferences that are out of the industry, so we can get ideas from what other conferences and trade shows are doing and bring them in here, so it's a little bit more unique to us.
Yeah, definitely. And I can say from the White House side, the vendor side of it, the people that are here are vested. They want to be better. They want their business to be better. They want their photography to be better. They want to, pick up all the fun new gadgets. Like, it's not just, we're going to kick some rocks around and just kind of hang out. Like, you have serious photographers here. So has that been a path, or has it just been a following?
I think it's a little bit of both. Okay. Because I'm a strong believer. I'm a huge marketing guy. I study a lot of marketing, and so I think you've got to make sure that you're reaching your right clients. So I believe that a lot of that comes from, like, we have a referral system. So if you refer somebody, you get some things back. And so I think that once you get some quality people at the show and they start referring people that are like them, because people hang out with people like themselves, so you kind of have that kind of like connection going on. And so you get quality people here, and then they refer quality people, and then that becomes your client base, which is, very similar to what happens in a photography studio. When you start, using that kind of same system, you're going to get the same quality people, because those people are referring each other. So I think that's pretty much how the growth of Sync has worked, and why there is such a nice quality of people here that are fairly experienced, and they've got studios. I mean, I would say probably 60% of our group has at least an in-studio in their home or an actual retail space.
So a couple of years ago, you and Michelle made a big change where you used to operate Sync and then you had Sync Sports. And then you made the combination. So how has that been going? Are you happy with that transition? Do you want to split it back up? Tell us where you're at with that.
No, I'm not splitting it back up. It was too much work. No, it was fine. It was fine. I think here's what we found out, that when we do, like when you register for Sync, we ask a series of questions. Mm-hmm. And some of those questions are, do you do high school senior photography? Do you do sports photography? Do you do youth sports? Do you do dance schools? Those kind of general questions. Yeah. And what we saw was there was enough of the crossover that it was time to combine those two shows together. And there's not really any photography show. There's some conferences that are heavy on sports and schools and volume, and then there's photography shows that are more on portraits, but there's not a show that has a combination of high school senior photography and youth sports and dance photography as their primary focus. And we really saw that was the core of our audience. I mean, when you get to know your audience, that's what they're doing. Almost everybody in our entire audience that we have here is doing high school senior photography and some sort of youth sports, whether that's working with a high school or it's working with little league teams, whatever that looks like.
Definitely. And what I love about what you just said, and my business coach will appreciate this too, is that you designed this based on data, on research. You weren't just speculative. You were asking questions, learning your audience, which whoever's listening along that has a studio, keep that in mind. Ask a lot of questions. Know your audience very, very well. So without disclosing what's coming up next, can you give us a little sneak peek of Sync 2024 at all? Any little tidbits you want to share, or is it mum's a word?
When's this broadcasting?
It would be after.
Oh, okay. Well, then we can talk. We have some plans. We definitely have some plans. One of the things that I feel like that we do well as show producers is every year we try to bring new things in. And even we drive down from Pennsylvania. It's a 14-hour drive. We were actually having conversations about what does 2024 look like, and what are the things that we're going to add or as an addition. And so there definitely are some new things coming that we're super excited about. I'm not going to give away all those items, but I will say that we will stay in Florida. So we're going to be in Florida. We will be towards the end of February. So we will do that. And I always say this every year, but I always say we have an incredible lineup for 2024 that I think is probably going to blow people's minds. I mean, it's that good of a lineup, and it's a lot of fresh faces. It's some people that have been to Sync and taught before. It's some people that have been on the circuit for a long time, and it's some brand new people. So it's going to be a really awesome mix of sports photographers and senior photographers, and I am really excited about our lineup for 2024. It's going to be really good.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate you and Michelle and all the work that you do. You guys work so hard, and you run such a well-oiled machine here with a personality. So thanks for having us. We really appreciate it. White House loves Sync. And thank you for all you do for the industry, for us, and for everybody out there. I hope you've enjoyed this interview with Darty, and we will be back with you shortly.